Okay, hi everybody. We're looking at the exam paper for market equilibrium. My name's Chris Bell. Just want to extend a welcome to you students from Orewa College, and hoping to be working with you closely over the next few weeks to head you in the right direction for success this year at economics at level 3. So thank you to those of you who attempted the paper, and just like to provide some feedback on some of these questions, hopefully give you the key points that you need to look at. So question number 1 asked you to consider here was the resource material here, asked you to consider the imposition of a tax on the red meat market, and more latterly to consider a tax on the cigarette market, and to try and determine which one had the most effect from the government's point of view. So if we look at the red meat market, the first thing to look at is, and some of you seem to do a pretty good job on this, so just one of the ways that I like to show a tax is to start at the equilibrium. Now in this case, so the current equilibrium is obviously here. We're told that there's a $6 tax. So the way that I like to illustrate it is like to start at the equilibrium, and we can see that's at $14, and go up by $6. So I want to go vertically up by $6. So that would take me up to $20, and just put a dot there. And then at any other, because we've just got a straight line here, any other point along the line, do exactly the same thing. So start in this position here, say, go up by, in this case, $6, and put a dot there. Now we've basically got two dots that we can run a line through, hopefully. Yeah, it's not brilliant, is it? But you'll see my point. If we can roughly get a line through there, try that again. Line through there. There we go. We've roughly got now a parallel line to our original supply curve. So label that supply 1 now. If I jump ahead a slide, I've drawn that in and drawn in the new equilibrium. I've labelled the points P2 and Q2, which is what we were asked to do in the question, and just for my own purposes identified that the new price in the market would be $17, and the new quantity would be 350,000 kgs per day of red meat. So what are the changes that have happened as a result of that? Let's take a look back at the first graph, and I'm going to delete the additional material I've put in there. Get this software working properly, I'll be happy. And then look at what the surpluses were. Now remember that the consumer and the producer surplus. Hopefully you'll know by now that the consumer surplus is contained within this area here. Okay, now that's the utility or the benefit that all consumers receive by being willing to pay prices above $14. So you can see this area of the demand curve sits above prices of $14 up to, it looks like, $24. So there's a whole willingness and ability up there of people willing to pay higher for red meat but only having to pay $14. So in a sense that's the free benefit that those consumers are receiving. So in this case, consumer surplus is equal to the triangle. What's that? 14 to 24 is 10. So there's this triangle. So you need to know a bit of triangle theory if you don't already. So that's 10. and then across the bottom we've got 500. So that triangle looks like it might be, what are we talking, half the base times the height. So what are we talking, 10 times 500 over 2, which is 5,000 over 2, which is 2,500. And of course that's in thousands, so that's 2.5 million. So that's the consumer surplus. And of course the producer surplus is everything above what the producers were willing to sell for. Everything above what they're willing to sell for. So these producers are willing to sell at these prices, in this range of the supply curve. Those producers are willing to sell at those prices, but actually get $14. So that triangle, which is producer surplus, is equal to, and it looks like it's going to be the same, yeah? So it looks like it's the gap between 14 and 4, just there, which is 10, and the same distance, which is 500. So clearly, without doing the maths, we don't need to, producer surplus was $2.5 million. Remember, that is measured in dollars. Okay. So let's have a look at what happens when the change occurs. All right. So after the tax is imposed, consumer surplus now shrinks to here. Okay. So the new consumer surplus is the triangle 17 to 24, which is 7, and the distance 350. So 7 times 350, and remember it's half because we're doing triangle theory. What is that? 7 3s are 21, 24. That equals 1225. Just went away and did a little calculation. Now the new producer surplus is, let's have a look at that. Well, let's first of all mark in the tax. So remember, the value of the tax now is going to be the new quantity that's sold, which is 350,000 just there, multiplied by the value of the tax. Now $17 minus the, what was it, $6 tax. So this zone here is the tax. Remember, that goes to the government, so we know where that goes. And the new producer surplus is illustrated here, which is the only reason we illustrate it there is so we can see the tax in there. But it's, of course, if you're looking at the new supply curve, it also fits exactly into the triangle in there underneath the tax. But don't get too confused by that. So the value of the new producer surplus is the same. 7 times 350 over 2, 1225. And therefore the value of the tax is the rectangle 6 times 350, which equals 2,100,000. So why did we want to make those calculations? Well, the reason is, and we refer to the next question, the reason is because in this explanation of the impact of the tax on the market, we need to explain all those things. So when it says explain the effect on consumers and consumer surplus, the things we want to talk about are, we want to talk about the price that consumers pay, the quantity they consume, and the change. Now I use a triangle to reflect change. I don't know if you've seen that before, but the change in consumer surplus. Okay. And when we explain the effect on producers, we want to know that the price that the producers were and now receiving, the quantity now producing, and the change in producer surplus. And also you want to discuss change in profit/revenue scenarios, so profit or revenue. The effect on the government, obviously, explain the effect on the government is just talking about the tax, the value of it, and then talking about the efficiency in the market. Okay, so if we quickly run through that, what are we saying? Consumers. From, have a quick look again, from originally $14 to now $17, from $14 to $17. Consuming from, I'm summarizing this by the way, from 500,000 kgs to 350,000. So less red meat consumed. CS was 2.5 million. Now 1225, is that right? 1225, yeah. 1225, yeah. So less consumer welfare. And well, generally you have to say consumers are worse off. Producers, from 14, they've gone down to 11. To 11. Selling less. What's that? 150,000 kgs less. PS down by, what's that? That's 1275. And revenues and profits decreased. Government receives a tax boost of 2 million, what did we say? 2,100,000. Of 2,100,000, which it can spend or redirect to other places, spend in other areas. And efficiency, I'm a bit tight here, efficiency, the red meat market is now less efficient because of dead weight loss. And if we quickly go back to the diagram, we can see, and I'll use another color here, we can see that the dead weight loss is in here. So as a result of the tax, this area that we used to be included in consumer surplus and producer surplus now is no longer received by anybody, so it disappears to the market, and that is deadweight loss, making the market less efficient. Okay, hope that was useful.